What a tragic way to begin the school year. Earlier this morning, over 300 students and staff of Annunciation Catholic School were in church for daily mass when a lone gunman, dressed in black, opened fire. According to local news reports, there are at least 20 victims.
Call, we now know that the shooter is dead. Officers are reporting 20 victims. A man dressed in all black and armed with a rifle was reported at the scene. EMS has requested a mass casualty response, and fire crews are bringing in additional resources. As I said earlier, mass casualty does not mean deaths. It just means victims of some kind. Fire crews are bringing in additional resources. Initial information indicated that the suspect shooter is no longer a threat. That we know to be true now. Out of an abundance of caution, they are asking just people to stay out of that area because there's a lot of work to be done, to complete this investigation and move through what they need to do this morning.
And of course, one of our big questions.
It turns out that the shooter ended up killing himself at the back of the church before law enforcement arrived. Now, as of the making of this video, 2 children have died and 6 more were sent to the hospital. Of course, that's subject to change as more information comes out and this story develops. But I would think that for all of us, our thoughts and prayers truly go out to the victims, their families, just the entire community. They need our support right now. This is just such a terrible way to open the start of the school year, and unfortunately, this is all too common, and situations like this get politicized almost immediately. Well, the mayor of Minneapolis has actually come out and said this is not the time for thoughts and prayers. He actually crudely, and I would argue cold-heartedly, said that these children, these teachers, were praying, and praying obviously didn't protect him. This is the mayor of Minneapolis in his own words.
Have a deceased child. You cannot put into words the gravity, the tragedy, or the absolute pain of this situation. We are a Minneapolis family. But to everybody out there, do not think of these as just somebody else's kids. Those families are suffering immense pain right now. Think of this as if it were your own. Every one of us needs to be wrapping our arms around these families, giving them every ounce that we can muster. These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary. And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
This is not about thoughts and prayers. You can tell he's already trying to set the stage for the Democrat Party pushing more gun control, more gun laws, basically infringing on our Second Amendment rights. Now, what's ironic is he said, think about it as if these were your kids. Well, if these were my children, if this was my family affected by this, if I had a loved one who was affected by this tragedy, I don't know about you, but I certainly would want thoughts. I certainly would want prayers. I think we would all want peace in this situation. Now, the reason I think that politicians, especially Democrats, want to distract, and again, I'm not trying to politicize this, these are their own words, and these are the facts, and this is the situation, right? Tragedies like this don't happen in a bubble, but the reality is that crime has been rising in a lot of these major cities, and in fact, we do know that the Minneapolis police were overwhelmed. Now, I'm not saying they arrived late at the scene. There isn't yet a reporting that they arrived late, but according to the local news, the Minneapolis police were stretched thin because there were 3 multi-casualty events within the last 12 hours.
Its tactical vest, which It doesn't necessarily mean a lot. Sometimes the FBI is called in to help and things like this. I will say throughout the morning, we've been following a violent night overnight in Minneapolis. So we know already that Minneapolis police were pretty strapped. They responded to at least another deadly shooting in downtown Minneapolis earlier this morning. No indication that any of that is connected to what's going on here, but just gives you an idea of this city's resources and how they've been using those. They also dealt with a shooting involving 7 victims earlier yesterday, another fatal last night around 8 o'clock. So it could be that a lot of this help is being called in just to alleviate some of the busyness, I guess, that you could say that Minneapolis police are under. But clearly a lot of agencies now coming in to help. And I will say, Amy, when you see sometimes a lot of these law enforcement officers kind of by the perimeter, we saw them bringing plainclothes people. It looked like not law enforcement, maybe people involved with the scene, kind of taking them away from that scene. Could be an indication that things are settling down a bit there, that this is maybe now.
Yeah, and the Minneapolis police have actually already released a statement on this. They said, quote, "The level of gun violence across the city within the last day is deeply unsettling." Of course, I think we can all predict they're going to try to blame this on guns, but I think personally that a lot of it does come down to culture, and of course a lot of it comes down to how you're enforcing the law, how law enforcement is able to do their job to be able to prevent these crimes from happening in the first place. Of course, that's not to say or imply that we can prevent every tragedy. We have a thing called free will, and there is such a thing as evil. And so when you have those two things, the reality is unfortunately bad and terrible things are going to happen. But common sense says, I think most people would say and agree, that when we can prevent the preventable, why don't we do it? When we can put resources into things like law enforcement or greater protection, why aren't we doing these things? And that really is the divide between the two parties right now. Well, just a few days ago, the DNC held their summer meeting in Minneapolis, and Tim Walz gave a speech. Now, a lot of other speeches from this DNC summer meeting went viral over the last few days, but Tim Walz's kind of flew under the radar. Well, now his own speech is coming back to haunt him. It's going viral all over social media this morning, whereas it was ignored a few days ago. In light of this school shooting, basically, he was denouncing President Trump's attempt to lower crime in all of these major blue cities.
But what we have to be clear about is, don't take the bait. It boggles my damn mind that in the midst of a military takeover of our cities and the attempt to go into others, the flaunting of the rule of law, the cruelness and the unconstitutional nature of the way they're attacking our neighbors, that the press finds the need to talk about, oh, there's a division in the Democratic Party. There's a division in my damn house and we're still married and things are good. That's light. That's light. We are strong. We are strong because we challenge each other. We are strong because we're held accountable. We're strong because we believe that there's a place for everyone here. Think of how easy it would be to be a damn Republican. Oh, what should I wear today? This stupid friggin' red hat. What should I say today? I don't know. Just make sure it's cruel. Who do we listen to? That guy. Oh, the felon in the White House? Yeah, listen to him and that will be fine.
Now, obviously, he's going on a rant, he's going on a rampage, but the context in all of this was talking about President Trump trying to quell crime in Washington, D.C., and talking about doing the same in other cities like Chicago and Baltimore. Well, it wasn't just that speech, it wasn't just those comments that are coming back to haunt Tim Walz. His moment during the debate last year is going viral yet again when he said that he's befriended school shooters.
Become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA.
Of course, I think he probably misspoke and meant to say that he's become friends with the victims of school shootings, but just a terrible, unfortunate slip of the tongue and definitely does not look good in this light. Well, like I said, this is a tragedy. This school, Annunciation Catholic Church, Annunciation Catholic School, is for preschool all the way up to 8th grade, so very young. Here is some more information on the school.
Yeah, and it sounds like this is a situation where you have the church and then you have the school connected to that. And the details that we are able to pull about this school is that it goes from pre-K preschool through 8th grade. The student population at that school is over 320 students, according to U.S. World News and Report. And from their website, Annunciation provides comprehensive education, faith formation, and enrichment activities for children from preschool through 8th grade. And now we are hearing from the governor that police are responding to this horrific act of violence at this Catholic school. And they just started school this week, right, Isabel?
That is correct. And Pamela, if I can add this, from their website, it looks like they would have been, that the all-school mass would have likely been underway at the time. So we're looking at a calendar. So school mass would have been underway. Obviously, we're reaching out to across many avenues trying to get more details as to what happened here.
That is very sad. All right.
Now, according to one of the eyewitness testimonies, there were so many shots fired so quickly that he actually didn't think it was real. He's familiar with guns. He's heard them before. He's actually fired them. But just the clip at which this was happening, he thought it was fake. But before I get into that, I would like to acknowledge RL1401 and Jeremy 2001 Happy as the members of today's Governor's Club. RL, thank you so much for pointing out I missed your last one. I am so sorry. But thank you doubly today. I appreciate you. Of course, the Governor's Club is a daily shout out to everyone who is given tips, and super thanks to the channel. And I am so grateful you enjoy, and thank you for your support. So the man who was outside of the school when this happened said that he heard so many shots that it was very clear that the shooter had free rein. Obviously, this will be investigated, and I'm sure part of the conversation that goes on afterwards.
I was on a call. All the windows of our home were open. I know what gunfire sounds like, and I could tell. I was shocked. I said, "There's no way that could be gunfire." There was so much of it, so it was sporadic. It was a semi-automatic. It seemed like a rifle. It certainly didn't sound like a handgun, and so he must have reloaded, several times for sure.
Do you remember about how many gunshots?
I'll just say maybe 30 to 50 to, somewhere in that area.
Do you recall about how long
the fire went on?
Yeah.
For, I would say, several minutes. 3 minutes or, 4. Which is a long time for live gunfire. That's a long time. You can wrap off a lot of shots. So, there again, I'm just estimating,
So what was your name?
My name is Bill.
That is just horrific. And to think that...
Yeah, like I said, this story will obviously be updated as more information comes out, as the police reveal what they find in their investigations. But what we do know is the current estimates are actually a little higher than that. They believe it was 50 to 100 shots, and they believe that the exact time was about 4 minutes in that range. Well, CNN is already jumping on his statements about it being a semi-automatic rifle, and they're already spreading misinformation on their network. A lot of people are calling them out on this, and they're saying, hey, when is your fact checker going to actually fact check the people that you guys bring on air?
It seemed like a rifle, he said, a semi-automatic rifle, and it went on for several minutes.
Right, and look, that's not uncommon as well. These things can shoot dozens of bullets, in just one trigger pull, right? And so what happens in this case is sometimes
that statement right there is not true, and that's why a lot of people are saying, hey, where is your fact checker? When are you going to correct that statement? As of the making of this video, that has not happened. As always, though, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. This is what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would like to hear from you. So the mayor of Minneapolis made some very, I believe, nasty and crude comments when he said this is not the time for thoughts and prayers. I was wondering about everyone's thoughts on that. Do you agree with me that that's just not the right time, not the right place to make these sorts of comments when this is a fresh tragedy, when people could certainly be using our thoughts and prayers? Or do you agree with him? Do you think that his point was we need to do something about this, whether it's gun control, whether it's about more police officers and security at schools? Something needs to be done, and we can't keep saying thoughts and prayers. Let me know your thoughts on his statements down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.